Hey guys, how's it going? Crippin here. Today I want to talk about wealth in Path of Exile. Some people have a lot, some people don't have so much, and it's pretty frustrating, understandably. Um, there's a few things that I want to highlight, but in general, you have to understand that if you're pretty new to the game, if you don't know how a lot of the stuff works, you're going to have to invest a lot more currency in doing what you're doing. So if you're just leveling up, for the first time or second time, you probably have to do something that I call like waste currency on gear, and you have to really accept that. If you need to use currency on gear throughout the game at any point, if you feel the need, you probably do, and that's just how it is. You'll get better at the game, you'll learn more about it, and things will improve in your checkbook there. But pretty much what most people do, what a lot of people do to get really wealthy is, one, they get really lucky. They find one really big ticket item and kind of ride that out for a while. Two, a lot of people do like the JSP thing. A lot of people just, do real money transactions. Don't really encourage that. I think they are, very serious risks to doing that. And I think it really takes away from the game. For me, it takes everything away from the game. So, but you have to understand that some people do that. Some people have a lot of wealth just because they decide to pay money towards the game, and that's the way they play the game. And you really shouldn't feel too envious about something like that, in my opinion. And the third way people get a decent amount of wealth is by being efficient. Selling what they can sell and buying what they can buy, and pretty much following a lot of things that I'm going to describe in this video. Now, understandably, I'm like a streamer. I get bro-dealed a lot. It's extremely easy for me to sell items. So it's not like, I'm not going to talk about that kind of stuff because I am in a very unique situation. But it doesn't disregard the fact that, I'm aware of what other people are doing. I'm aware of what's going on right now. So there's a few things that you really have to do in this game. So number one, if you want to be wealthy, if you're doing maps, you cannot do maps solo. You can do maybe like 66 maps solo if you want, but even that is not a good idea. The reason this is so is when you do a full group, you get a 50% quantity bonus for each player in the party. So if you have a full party, the monsters, they're going to drop a lot more loot. They're going to drop 3.5 times the normal loot that you'd get in an instance. Granted, it's divided by 6, so each person gets less, but if you pool the resources together, you spend way less investing in maps. On top of that, obviously, some of the currency that you're going to put into maps is going to come from trading. You have 6 people trading rather than 1 yourself. So that's mostly a consequence of the game. Yes, you can map solo, but you have to understand that it's extremely expensive, and if you're trying to be frugal, it's extremely wasteful as a result. So keep that in mind. Pretty much, in the end, you want to roll as few maps as possible. If you can roll none of your maps, you just group with random people, that's pretty good. Obviously, if you're getting to the really high-end maps, you're going to have to put in your fair share, but try to invest as little as possible, and definitely don't overspend on your own maps like you've seen me do on stream. Bad idea if you're trying to get wealthy in this game. The other thing is in regards to rolling gear. What a lot of people do, I feel they do wrong, is they feel they need like perfectly linked items. So yes, some builds require it, and it's an unfortunate consequence, but even if your build requires it, you should be out there trying to buy items that are 4-linked. Maybe they're not so good, but just because that they're 4-linked will save you a huge amount of currency rolling the items. So let me pose a situation like this. So if you find, like on the forums, some upgrade to your boots, but they're like 1 socket or something, even if you buy them for, let's say, a really good price, if your old boots are like 4-linked, you're still going to have to invest jewelers to get them 4-socket, and you have to invest fusings to get them 4-linked. And that can cost you, upwards of 2 exalteds, let's say, on average. And that's a real problem if, the boots are worth a couple chaos. So you don't want to overspend on the gear that you already have just so you can, get it to how you want it. This is especially true for temporary gear. Obviously, for endgame gear, if you're buying something that's worth a lot, it's really good, yeah, go for it. If you feel it's something you're going to use for a while or forever, there's really there's really not much waste going on. But for temporary gear, you got to save that stuff up. You don't want to overspend. There's a lot of other things that you can do, but those are the main things for like saving. And in terms of like selling, there are some important things as well. So when you're selling gear, a lot of people just go for whatever. A lot of people just have like the junk gear and the pretty good stuff, and then the really good stuff. You really have to sell these things differently. It's actually very difficult to sell mediocre gear in this game, but there is a demand for it. But the thing is that the guys buying the gear, there's much less of them than there are people selling the mediocre gear. So you have to understand that, you know, if you see someone wanting to buy a mediocre piece of gear, yeah, you can haggle maybe a little bit, but in the end, you know, they hold the cards, because, you know, if they don't want to buy your garbage, they're going to buy someone else's garbage, because everyone's got garbage. So you really want to try to power sell that mediocre gear. If you see someone in trade want to buy this and you have something similar, go for it. You know, on the other hand, when it comes to the good gear, the forms are pretty acceptable, but if it's not like the really insane stuff, you know, I think it's still a good idea to settle on some pretty decent offers. So let's say you have like, you know, a 350 damage two-hander, you know, getting an offer of like 5 or 6 chaos. That's pretty good. You know, I wouldn't try to push it too far. People get pretty annoyed when you try to, you know, draw out an auction, and in the end they often end up paying less. The thing is with the really good stuff, so if you find, I don't know, maybe like a Chevrons, or maybe to a lesser extent, I don't know, let's say like a Dream Fragments or Rainbow Stride, you know, some of the really in-demand stuff. This stuff you really need to try to get the max. The reason this is important is you're not going to come across this stuff every day, and the demand is often going to be very high, because it's going to be the type of gear that people are going to use forever on their characters. So as a result, you know, they're willing to pay full price. Often, if the demand is actually high, they're willing to pay a lot extra. That's very relevant. The other thing to know is when you're selling stuff, it's not really something that I can predict right now, but if you're playing like the Onslaught League, the currency equations are like all over the place. Like exalts keep getting more and more expensive, despite the fact that no one is using them. So it is kind of like an artificial thing, but it is something to keep in mind. What I mean is, you know, we've already seen how the economy shifts, where it ends up going in the end, and this is relevant because, you know, we already know that 2 or 3 months down the line, GCPs are going to be worth less than they are now, and Exalted is going to be worth more than they are now. So if you have a big ticket item that's worth Exalts, you know, you want to try to, you know, get the right currencies, or you want to try to convert the right currencies. If you hold more of the cards, if you hold the really good stuff, you can demand certain currencies for it, and that's what you should be doing. So that's about it. Obviously, there are a lot of things that a lot of people do in this game to try to get wealth. Some, you know, legitimate, some not so legitimate. But in the end, you just kind of try to make do with whatever you get in the game. And it's just really important to be smart about the currency. And obviously, in the end, the main thing is, if you're playing hardcore, just don't die. That's really a big one there. If you die, you lose a lot, especially when it comes down to the gear you're wearing. So hopefully, I hope you guys maybe, you know, do a little bit better in the economy side of things, and maybe get to where you want to be with your character. Get that gear, get that end game gear on that leveled up character. It's really a cool experience that I experienced a few times so far in Path of Exile, and I hope to experience again. And hope you guys, you know, enjoy the same feeling. Anyway, guys, hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys tomorrow.